Aesthetica's final and concluding event, a book tour of the biography, Becoming Hafeez Contractor, The Making of an Architect by Harshad Bhatia. The book was published in October 2019 and unfolds the remarkable journey of widely acclaimed architect designer Hafeez Contractor Sir, from doodling on the edges of his schoolwork as a child to designing some of the iconic buildings in the country. One of the most important names in the field of Indian architecture today, Hafeez Contractor is the architect of the three tallest buildings in India. He is also well known as the architect of the domestic terminal of Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Airport, Hiranandani Gardens, and the D.Y. Patil Stadium. Hafeez sir shows great concern regarding the lack of greenery in India and rejects the idea of going behind Western techniques and following their steps blindly. He started working in 1968 and has constantly changed the face of Indian architecture since then.
Based on extensive research and personal interactions, Harshad Bhatia sir brings us a fascinating book on the life and work of an architect. To talk about the author, Harshad sir is a skilled urban designer, architect, acoustics intellectual, and writer-editor based in Mumbai. He is a graduate and gold medalist from the Sir J.J. College of Architecture, Mumbai University, and a postgraduate and gold medalist from the SPA, New Delhi. His professional firm since 1986 has dealt with a wide range of projects. He is now a sole practitioner, tenure professor at Rizvi College of Architecture, and visiting faculty in other local colleges. An innovative communicator, he has been invited to present papers at various conferences, and his writing is featured in dailies, magazines, and referred journals. We welcome you both and thank you for taking the time to meet with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Neither of you enlighten us about deciding to write a biography.
Hafeez, would you like to start?
I'll get it.
For me, as an author, it's called a biography, but if Hafeez were to write it himself, it would be an autobiography. So the whole difference over here is that I had to be very careful about writing a biography. So at first, I was very averse to writing anything because I already written about Hafeez earlier. It took a long time. I think it took a few months before actually Hafeez and I we met, and Hafeez requested that, will you do the book? Because the publishers, I think, were probably even telling him that it's time that a book was published about your life and times. I guess that's how it began, right, Hafeez?
Yes, boss.
And I think we must also acknowledge that the publisher, HarperCollins, based in India. So we are talking about the publishers, and the publishers are quite keen that since it was more than 3 decades, I think it's been over 3 decades since you started practice. And in those 3 decades, there's so much to see and hear about the work of Hafeez that it was definitely a time when somebody should write about the entire process, about how one can really constantly, continuously, be so productive and turn out a lot of work. Otherwise, in 3 decades, most of us actually have done the best of our work and moved on. We don't want to really then talk about this is my building and that building. I think I always maintain my best is to come. And I think that was the reason why probably they felt that there's a time to write about. So I guess that's how the entire thing started. And when Hafeez requested that, yes, you must write, because he read about what I had written about him earlier. And somehow I think there was a connection that he was telling me that he could make with my understanding about his work. And it wasn't through speaking to him, but it was trying to understand his way of thinking and the delivery that he actually gave. And as a practicing architect myself, there were a couple of occasions where I had a meeting where Hafeez was also competing for the job. I don't know whether Hafeez remembers this, but I have not mentioned this in the book because it's about him. And when I could hear the way he actually spoke to the clients, he's not a yes man, and neither is he a no man. He never says no. But at the same time, he never says only yes. He will say, yes, I will do it, and I will also give you this. So there is always that additional value quotient that he brings into his thinking. So the client always feels that here is somebody who's giving me another way of looking at what am I doing. Let me try to see what he's going to give me and then see if it actually works. So there was this thing in practice which I had realized about Hafeez's way of thinking. And when you see the buildings, you realize that they are appreciated by the people, very much appreciated by the people. So is there a connect which we as architects are not seeing, which this person is able to see? This architect is making a connect with the people. And I think that was something which shows that either we are stuck in a particular groove or we are stuck in a particular mindset. We need to open up. We need to this thing. So I gave the analogy of the goldfish and the jellyfish. I felt that here is a jellyfish architect who's showing us the ocean. And survival in the ocean is the most difficult thing. For the goldfish, survival depends on somebody to feed you every day, and your world is the bowl. That's it. So within the profession, I noticed that we have a lot of role models, a lot of look up to architects, but the amount of work which is produced through the goldfish is not enough in terms of each bowl is separate. There are different schools of thought, and that is what is worrisome in today's trend in Indian architecture. And here is a person which I noticed that he would just go and go about doing his work. So, and it never was about money. That's what I realized. It was more about if somebody wanted to make money out of it, it was his way of looking at it, but not this designers. So I felt that here was a different way of thinking for an architect in India. And then I said, yes, I will do it. So that's how the entire idea started about doing a biography. Now, for a biography, I'll take a little bit more time here because it's a very sensitive time for somebody to write about somebody else. For me, so if I take the book, I'm just holding it in front of you. I'm just keeping it in front of me. So I remember you normally say, that I owe this to so and so, the beginning, the first. So I've just added two sentences in the beginning of the book, when I open the front page. It says, for learning from experience and living with wisdom. And I think this is what I like to say that this is about Hafiz. Experience has taught him so much and he's become wiser with it. And his life is all around learning from that experience. Now, for me to write about somebody else's experience is very difficult because experience is external to me. But wisdom within me tells me that if I can actually grasp that experience and if I can put it in a way where I'm able to really learn from what this person has actually tried to show me first. So instead of a biography, what I have done is that I have tried to approach it. This is what I had to tell the publishers, that it will not be a biography where most of the biographies that I've read are actually elaborate CVs. They are more like when I was this and this is what happened, and when I was that and that is what happened, and this is what I did, etc. Here was a person who I didn't want to really say that what he's trying to tell me. He's already been written about so much. So I said that let me try to learn from how he has actually progressed in his journey and put it in a storyline rather than a biography, because he still has another 3 more decades to practice. I mean, even more than that, because his work is going to go on and it's going to be analyzed over time also. And 30 years is more than enough time for me to really now see that the work is still standing. It is still being sought after. Even the sale and the resale and the resale and the resale is happening about all the buildings. So there is so much happening over here, which we are trying to just keep aside in the name of design. I needed to look at it practically. So I wrote a book, but my intention was not to write a book for architects only, because I realized that, as I said, our entire system here is looking into silos. Each of us is in a different school of thought. Here I wanted to write because the people appreciate this architect, and the people have brought this name of an architect through Hafeez Contractor on their lips. And this is the whole purpose, that I wanted to write so that a general person, a layman on the street, could even read this without any of the big words which we would use within the 4 walls of our system. So I said that it has to be simply written. It has to be as simple as the person I'm going to write about. And it's something which I felt the book itself, the way I did it, was also a challenge for me because it has to reflect the process of writing the book. So I would say it's the making of an architect is Hafeez Contractor's becoming. The making of the book has to reflect the way he would actually do his projects. So I had limited time. I had to do it fast. I had to do everything. So the journey of doing this was very interesting for me. And hopefully I've been able to really convey it to the common man because I've got a lot of feedback from readers because this was released in October 2019. So it's been over a year and people have read it and I'm getting feedback and they are relating with it and they are telling me that it should be read by students. So I said we are all learners in our life, so it has to be read by all of us. That's the only thing I want to say. That so deciding to write a biography is not always about writing about your birth to where you are today in terms of a chronology. It's trying to understand the learning from the person whose life you're really looking at from his experience point of view. So that's the way I've written this book. Okay. You want to add anything, Hafiz?
No, I think uh, maybe, I would say that what you're talking gives me an insight to what I have been doing, and I sometimes I feel that whatever I was doing was all by just as if it was in my system. I was not thinking, when uh, coming from a boarding school and stuff like that. Uh, I always felt that for me the work was more important, and satisfaction of the client in one side and satisfaction of the end user on the other side, and then how the contractor will do it, how I had kept myself last on the ladder. And that has really helped me. And it was not intentionally that I really felt that unless and until I do everything for the building was my client, and how it should come out better, how it should come out more efficient. And that's how I have survived. And the most important thing which I did in my past years and what I'm doing today is that every few months I have been seeing what the whole real estate and what the architectural scenario has been in Mumbai, India, and the world. And I have changed. I have changed to the occasion. Like said today, we are doing a lot of work considering the climate change, considering the scarcity of materials, how you construct, how you should not waste any material. And we have come up with a new form of architecture and what we call it the zero waste architecture. And mind you, it all started with, just a little bit before the pandemic started. And in the months of the pandemic, we devised a new way so that how we can, like say some other architect is constructing 100 flats of so many square foot in say 5 lakhs or 6 lakh square feet. I said that this is not the way to do it. A lot of area is getting wasted. A lot of money is getting wasted because of a wrong construction and a wrong structure. And we devised a way by which we were able to give the same square footage of flats, the same area, or in fact more area, and give them 15% flats more. Now that that is really a game changer. So Now, somebody will say, oh, you are looking at only providing it to the builders. No, it is not the same. We are doing a lot of campuses. There also we showed them that how we can get more efficient. When you get more efficient, you are saving more materials. And today, with the world's population just doubling every 10 years, and land is one thing which nobody can create. And that is what I'm saying, the land is the most precious commodity, and how we should use land effectively so that it helps in at least stopping the climate change. And that, what I'm saying, is what we are after today. So as a student, you have, today when you are a student, you should learn the basic principles. The basic principles of structure, basic principle, learn from the history why a particular thing was done in a particular manner. Maybe that ways are not prevalent today or not necessary, but if you have studied those, then when the new situation is coming to you, okay, you will rise to that occasion and devise your own way. And that is what is going to be the next decade and the future decade. I will say, and I can see it, that the way we are constructing is no longer going to be the way. The population of this world, 7.5, it will go to about, say, 12. Or a lot of people say, oh, it's going to stop at so much. But I think it's a big question. And Africa and all those other countries, continents are going to burst with more people. Where is the food going to be grown? Where are we going to live? How are we going to live? Now, that is what is to be think about. And at least, I feel that this is the right way. One should think about that and devise a new way of construction, devise a new way of designing buildings, devise a new way of transportation. People talk about electric, cars and all that. I feel, do we need cars? Because where are we going to grow food? So there are so many ways of thinking and to think and give a solution. And each and every thing that I have done in the past is there was a problem and I gave a solution without having any inhibitions that, oh, what somebody is going to say. This is the solution, and if it is a solution, that's the answer. Do not worry about who is going to say what. It has to be a solution, it has to be cheaper, it has to be better. Now, that is my mantra of doing things. And that, I feel, is, I believe in it, and up to the last day that I practice or live, I'm going to follow that mantra. And I have never bothered to give a new idea to a person, even if that fellow is not my client, and he just comes with another friend of mine, and he says, oh, I'm doing this. I said, oh, this is the right way of doing it. If I were you, I would do that. I'm not asking, oh, you appoint me and then I'll give you an idea. I have always given free ideas to everyone. And one should not just think about your work. One should think about the whole atmosphere of the practice, what is going to happen. If that fellow has got the right opportunity to take that idea of yours, give it to him. Give it to him. Giving and giving is the another mantra. Do not hoard. The knowledge is there, give it. That's it. Harshad, you want to ask some other questions, my dear?
No, I think they would have some other queries. Let's see what they've got from the audience. Devika, you can proceed.
Since it's not an autobiography, we would really like to understand how you both interacted and some behind the scenes of making the book.
Okay, now I'll tell you something, which you might get shocked. Okay. See, here is a book where I have not told Arshad, okay, please write this or please write that. Uh, I said that what you feel is the right thing and what I have done. So he did his research and he has written what he feels is what I was doing. I have not told him change this word or change that word or change that. Because if that is the way I am going to do it, then it is not the real understanding. And in the past, whatever Arshad had written for me in different magazines and all of that, uh, I felt that he understood me very, very well. And in fact, by understanding and when I read his writing about me, I could even understand the hidden things about me. So this is how the whole book has come about.
That's good. That's great, Hafiz. Good to know that this thing. But let me just tell this, the listeners over here that the way I structured the book is very different from the way I would have imagined it should be. One of the few things that I had told the publishers and also the Hafiz is that I am not going to do a monograph. So because this is meant for the people to read, it is not for architects only. It's for you, me, everybody to read. And I'm going to write down my understanding of a successful person. Okay, I'm not using the word practice here because it may ruffle a few feathers. But I'm saying successful person, and it's good. It's very important to be a great human first before you want to be great in your discipline. You understand that? And here I see somebody who's downright down to earth. There's a lot of humility. We have had our differences. Hafiz and I have had our differences in committee meetings. We've had our differences in practice also. But somewhere, you have to move on and you have to learn that here is a practice which is sustained itself and a person who's driving it. So it's all about the person behind the practice, right? So when I said that this book has to be written, the name Hafeez Contractor has to come in the title. And obviously, there are other benefits of doing that also, because the moment you do a search today on the internet, and if the name pops up, the book also pops up. So that's another way which you get added fringe benefits, that way. So Hafeez Contractor. And from my point of view, Hafeez is a doer. He'll think, but he said, let's do it and think together. Let me not spend time thinking too much, because we are in a state in this particular country, India, where we have enormous population responsibility. As architects who are supposed to provide shelter, we have that responsibility of numbers which we have to really contend with. We have a responsibility to provide that shelter on limited land, because the density of the number of people to the land available in our country is also totally different from the developed world, where the densities are low. We have to deal with land as a scarce resource over here. And that is a scarcity which we have to try to prevent from being exploited. And Hafiz has always been talking about scarcity. So this was one of the few things. So keeping all this in mind, I decided that let me first see how am I going to interact with Hafiz in doing the book. Your question is very valid, because when I'm writing about somebody, I should know from that person about what is in his mind. But before doing that, my first chapter is called Thinking Outside, Looking Inside. What does that mean? It means that when I say think out of the box, I cannot forget what is in the box. I have to look what is in the box first. I have to keep that in my mind. Then I can think out of the box. So next time you use this cliched phrase, think out of the box, be very careful that are you thinking what is in the box already outside the box? Then you're making a mistake because you don't know what's inside. So first I decided is I'll go through every article that has been written about Hafiz. So I said, give me whatever you have in your database. So he sent me a CD. He sent me this entire CD, which has got volumes from 1980, 85 or 86 onwards to 2000 17. So everything scanned, all the written matter, etc. So I use this, okay. Then he sent me his sketches. He sent me whatever he could lay his hands on where he had written a note, etc. In addition to that, I had the habit of really collecting articles about various things in the construction industry through newspapers and other publications which I used to get daily at home. And with my mother's fingers being this thing told to being exercised because of the ortho, this the problem. So I said that you cut these clippings. So she used to use the scissor and do that. And I had all those. So I removed everything about Hafeez from that. Even today, I'm finding some of the articles which I can't find in his database and I didn't really see at that time. So I put all this together. I put them in folders in my computer. I put them in folders from 1985, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, right up to 2017. I separated them out. Some of them were scanned without dates. So I started looking at research. If there was a name of a particular person who was chief minister of the state, I tried to find out when was he the chief minister, which period. So then I went to the, if it said TNN, it was Times News Network. So I tried to say this is a Times of India publication. This must be the year because he's mentioned as the CM. I tried to put everything together. I did my research. I spent a couple of months just putting all this together. And believe me that when I was doing the book, I was told that your contract is this. You have to finish it within so many months. So I was given, say, 6 months within which I had to produce 80,000 words. Now, when you are given an exercise in your college, you are told to write 3,000 words and you're told to do it in a week. You know what? The mistake you do is that you start your word count from 1, 2, 3, and at 3,000 you stop. And that 1 week also you will come and ask for an extension. You need to think twice about the way you are working because you're losing time. And for those 3,000 words, you will have to first write at least 15,000 words and then edit it into 3,000. So what I did is everything that I laid my hands on from Hafeez is writing about him through various issues, various magazines. I went through videos. I transcribed most of the videos. That means the audio was being typed while it was being said, pause, type, pause, type. I spent a lot of time. I got a frozen shoulder also while doing that. Having said that, I typed in about 3 lakh words. This is the entire document, front and back, printed for me to go through. Now I knew that this is what is in the box. This is all about Hafeez that is in the box that is available. And I have to now write a book about him. So I have to think outside this. So I put all this together. And in the process of doing that, I said, how do I make it interesting? It should not be just another chronology. I have to see the person in his time. So the whole idea is that if it was 1970, it was 1980, it was 1990, what was happening around Hafeez at that time? Why was he thinking on those lines? When you look at his work outside, you don't see that because we take it for granted that look, what has he done? But sometimes you don't realize that your policies, your regulations, your market conditions, your resources, your budgets, your limitations, the context which you don't deal with in your academic exercises are the ones which are driving you into saying that this is what you should be doing. So I said, I want to do research about this. And I realized that while doing that, I got a lot of research in terms of the history of the city and the place wherever he was designing. So when you go through the book, it has lots of historical references. When was the Indian Institute of Architects formed? 1917. Hafeez is born in 1950. When did we get independence? 1947. Hafeez is born after independence. So people like Hafeez, people like me, most of us who were born post 1947, are really the freedom to generation. We are not the freedom from generation. The pre-1947 generation is the freedom from generation. You were trying to get freedom from something. And therefore, you realize that most of the architects who are practicing from the freedom from generation were really looking for an Indianness in their approach to architecture. For us, we don't have to look for it. We are already born in a free country. We are in India. We are born here. And Hafeez's architecture is really looking at the future of Indian architecture. It's not relying on a past blindly just to create a pre-British architecture. You understand that? It is looking at something where the people can say, this belongs to us. And that's what, so the entire chapterization you will get in each chapter, there will be these dualities. In chapter 1, I talk about freedom to and freedom from, this difference. And then when you understand, you don't compare. Comparison leads you into making some unnecessary, irrelevant comparisons which lead you nowhere. And each of us is creative in a way. So when I did that, so with 3 black words, I started saying that this is how my flow should be. At some point of time when the biography has to be written, so what I said is, now that I've typed it, I've read it, I've sequenced it, now I want to go and meet Hafeez. And that's when I went and met him. And honestly, I must say that it happens with all of us, that 2 meetings I must have had with him, and in both the meetings he was repeating the same thing that he told me in the previous one. So this happens for every, we cannot. So then I said that I don't want to spend more time in his life on that particular year. Rather than that, let me do the book using the 90s. I could do language. So this is what I actually decided I must end up doing. And I've done it in a story in such a way that this thing. So interaction wise, there's hardly any interaction. So Hafeez and I are used to spatial distancing pre-COVID times, because we never interacted on making the book through what he tells me to do. And he's always a person who's always said that write what you want. The first meeting I ever had with him, when I wrote the first article ever, when he approached me, the only thing he said is that, look, I want you to write because you understand my thinking. And I want you to write whatever you want. You can criticize, you can just be as frank as you want. And he knows that, I would have just told him that, you don't tell me that, because even I am as frank as that. So we actually clicked in that sense. And sometimes it's distance apart, but you having information allows you to really prepare yourself in how to do the writing. So this is how I've compiled the book using resources. Now there are advantages of that also. When I'm writing about somebody, nobody can come and tell me that, you have cooked up something, because I've got all the references. So the book has got a proper bibliography over here, with every reference that I've referred has been mentioned over here. That means if you want to do further research on something, you can go and look at all these publications which are already there. And I must thank all the editors of those publications and all the reporters, everybody who interviewed Hafeez. You can see the biases also, and you can see the honesty also. You can see the balanced approach, and you can see the way in which they want to really use Hafeez and his innocence to twist a particular issue. And you realize that here you are learning a lot about how the media controls you. So you have to be very careful about that. And that is what one has to realize, that you can have a snowballing effect when you're in the media. So if your snowballing is going in the negative way, it becomes larger and larger. It becomes difficult for you to get out. If it is positive, you start getting appreciated for who you are. And it just becomes the backbone of your existence as an identity. So this is the way we actually did the thing. And after writing the book, I've sent it to him. And I must thank Pearl, Mrs. Contractor, for really going through the book in that word to word. Then she sat with me, and we actually had a discussion about few of the things, because she clarified many of the things where I was going wrong in terms of interpretation from what was written about it. So I corrected those. So a lot of things in the book have been done through, with all the interactions with the family. And I wish I had more time, but at some point of time, it's good that you don't have more time, because the way Hafeez works is that, it's like a person walks into his office for a project, and by evening he walks out with a design, which could be then actually fructified into a way which could be built. So the whole idea is that the concept of this was done without wasting any time and sticking to the timelines given to me by the publishers. We managed to do whatever we could. And actually, I enjoyed writing it. Honestly speaking, Hafeez, I did enjoy writing it. And I tell everybody who's asking me about the book that I enjoyed writing it, and you must enjoy reading it. So if you're a reviewer, don't look at it that I'm going to review the book. Read the book and then write a review. Don't start thinking about a review and read the book, because it biases your thinking, it prejudices there. So be very careful about it. So I guess this is the way I could answer this. And I think Hafeez has given the right thing, that he hardly interacted with me in terms of what should be written. So it's interesting. So just go by the biography as a genre in the frame of the publishers. But actually, it's actually a story. And it's a very interesting story, because there's a lot of history in it also. History of place, history of persons. There's so many interesting anecdotes over here which are not related to Hafeez at all. They are pre-Hafeez times. And some of them are in a different continent. So you don't even realize that the architect I'm talking about is not even nowhere near in terms of coming to Hafeez, in terms of saying that they ever met. So there are these parallels I've tried to draw. that there have been prolific architects before Hafeez also. There is a prolific architect today, which I say is Hafeez Contractor. And this makes him popular with the people also, because you can see yourself in numbers. Yeah. So you can take it further, Devyani.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I think this really gives us a renewed energy to go through the book. Um, Next, sir, Hafiz sir, I would like to ask you that would you like to share some of your learnings as a student at AOA and Columbia University, New York, and in what different ways did it mold you?
Okay, academy, I would say that, one has to know a little bit of my history, how I joined architecture. I, uh, I was not given a form because, my marks were not very good in school. And my favorite pastime was always been in school. I used to design forts and guns and bikes and things like that. So my English teacher, when I was in the fourth standard, at that time we used to get fantastic trashing, and I was one of the students who used to get caning every week. And if I did not get caning, I would think that there's something wrong. So she had told me that when you grow up, become an architect. Now, I was not getting forms, so I was going to join the army. And mm, so the long and short of it is that one day I was in an architect's office where I saw somebody, one of the architects, drawing a window detail. And I told him that that detail was wrong. And when my cousin came, he asked me to draw. When I drew it right, then he asked me to design a house. When I designed it right, then he drew an external matrix. So I said, this is how you see when it is seen from top. So he told me, stop everything and join architecture today. And that's my cousin, architecture Kharegat. So with that, I went to Mr. Vandrekar. Mr. Vandrekar, no, before that, Mr. Dallas had written a letter of recommendation. I went to that. And to be very frank, academy is one place which has taught me and which has made my foundation very, very strong. And we had very, very good teachers who taught us good construction. We had very good teachers who taught us good history. And history was taught in such a way that we learn why a particular person did something like that, why a particular civilization did something. And we had a lot of importance of all of that. And there was mechanics. That also, I was not good at it at all. But I had very good teachers, Mr. Malik and so many of them, who helped me. But I learned the fundamentals. And that fundamentals which I learned in academy, today also it is helping me. And what really, another thing that helped me tremendously was each and every professor at academy never restricted me at all. Whatever I felt like we were allowed to do. I remember another teacher of mine was Farokh Hyderabad Wala. If the restriction was given, oh, you make a model like this size, and I would go to him and say, oh, I want to make a bigger model. I want to make my drawings bigger. And I was given a complete latitude. And that really gave me all the boost. And my foundations were very, very solid. And with that kind of an encouragement, I would say that, and the vigor of doing work. I used to be, the best thing about academy was that it was a morning college. We used to go to the college at 7:30. We used to finish by 9:30, 10. And the whole day we used to work at the office. So we had the theory theoretical knowledge and we had the practical knowledge. In fact, I would say that the system of education today, which is for the whole day, I think that's a I would say that that's not the right way. Our way was the best way. All the students were working and they achieved a very good practical experience. Okay, so that is as far as academy is concerned. And I feel that each and every professor of mine who was there, I really think about them and say, oh my God, this is what he taught us, and that is still helping me. Okay, now if you look at it, Columbia University, yes, it's a great university, and it's a great place, everything nice, and Columbia taught me how to do things faster. There was never, I thought that I was a hardworking student, and I'll tell you the amount, what I used to produce at academy, when there was a submission, the whole class would be submitting their work in one classroom. And each and every boy would get 10 drawings, 20 drawings, or 15 drawings. And he'll get a model which is about, say, 2 feet by 3 feet. I would make a model which is 10 feet by 15 feet and 10 feet high. My model will come in a truck, and my professors and Mr. Vandrekar, Mr. Gumaste, Matre, and all of them, they would give me one whole class to present my drawings, and I would be making 150 drawings, 120 drawings. Everybody else would be making a drawing which is about, say, 1.5 feet by 3 feet, and I will be making drawings which is 40 inches by 8 feet long. I will be mounting them on my ply, and they gave me all the freedom. So that is what really helped me to bloom. But when I went to Columbia was a very intense course, and there was never a time that one could go to sleep before 2 o'clock in the night, and every day next morning the classes would start by about 8:30. And one thing, our professor was very, each and every professor was very strict, and whatever we did was never enough. And Stan Eckstein, who was our main guide, never ever said good to anybody, and he will say, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and this is what is lacking in this. On my final day of presentation, there was, I was given the 42nd Street because I was the only student from India. We were about 13 to 14 students, and we had 18 professors to teach us. Okay, and that is only for design. The other professors which were taking law and urban design, there was a law course, those professors were over and above that. So when I was going to present, Stan asked me, Hafeez, would you like to present it first? So I said, Stan, I would like to present it last. Now everyone had done their drawings on normal paper and sheets of paper, and everybody was standing up and designing. What I did, I had requested the whole floor, the corridor, that for the 20 minutes, don't open your doors, or don't please walk in the corridor. I had made my drawings 10 feet high, and I stuck on both the sides of the corridor wall the whole of 42nd Street. And the old buildings were drawn in blue color, the blueprints, and on top of that, I had done my drawing. I remember in red. That was the proposed. And when Stan asked me to present, he was sitting in front of the desk. And so I told Stan, please get up. I'm going to take you out of the class. So he was surprised and he says, what is happening? And then I made him walk in the street, that is the 42nd Street. And I'm talking on the right side this and left side this. And the way I took him in that 50, 60 feet of that corridor. And after the whole presentation was over, Stan looked at me with a very, very stern face and said, Hafeez, good. The whole class was really shocked that there was a vocabulary or there was a word like good in Stan's vocabulary. But that is not very important. What I will never ever forget that what I learned from Stan. One day, we all used to work very, very late in the class. And most of the time, at least 6, 7 people will be there in the class, working, right up to 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And I would always go back to my room round about, say, 1:32. One day, I realized that I had finished my work and I left the class around about 12. That day only, fortunately or unfortunately, I would say fortunately for me, Stan came around about 12, 12:30, and only 1 or 2 boys were there in the class. And he wrote a problem and he said, this is what you all are supposed to do. And mind you, at Columbia, you were given a handout right in the beginning of the year. And you're told that on this day, you'll be submitting this, article, this design, this. Dates are specified, everything is specified. So nobody is going to ask you after the class that please submit your submission. If you're not submitted, you get a 0 for it. And that's how the whole system was. So Stan said that this problem which he has given, and it was a design problem, you're supposed to submit it tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the first class. Now, in the morning, when I came back to the class, I used to always carry my coffee and this, that, so, and everybody was running around, and I said, oh, what's happening? What's happening? I said, oh, Stan came last night and he's given this problem, and you have to submit it by 8:30. I said, hey, what is this? This is not fair. I had left at just 11:30 or 12 o'clock, and how can he come in the night and give this problem and do like this? Is not fair. So I went to his cabin and I said, Stan, I had just left by 11:30 and you came at this. So she said, Hafeez, don't worry, it's okay. So I said, oh, thank you, Stan. So he says, no, don't thank me. You get a 0 for this. I said, why? So he told me this line, and that I will never ever forget in my life. Hafeez, just think that there was a job going in the town. You are not there. You don't get the job. So getting 0 in that submission changed the way I look at business and I look at work. So this is what I have paid Columbia University, though I got 50% as scholarship in those years. That was $6,000 some $200. And I paid $6,000 some dollars as my fees, which was all my education right from my school days to college or anything. That was double of that. But this one sentence has taught me, which I feel each and every architectural student, each and every student in any profession or anything should remember. And that is what Columbia University has taught me. Thank you. Hello.
Can I just add something here?
Yeah, please.
See, the whole idea about this is an excellent question, because these things are not spoken of once you're in practice. And I've written about it in the book, but the way you've explained it, Hafeez, is even much more, because it comes directly from you, that experience. And it shows that the passion which you have even today is similar to when you were a student. It's not that you changed when you become a practitioner. I felt that this drive in you has been there since the day you wanted to do architecture, since you were in school, and that teacher of yours said that when you grow up, you become an architect, and you didn't even know what it meant. And I felt that the moment you got admission, because you tried for architecture admission, you got admission. And I guess, all the people who come and like Vandrekar, Professor Vandrekar, Homi Dallas, even Kharegat, I feel, everybody has actually given you, and you've always been so grateful for that, that I see this reflected in the way you also are actually dealing with the people who are working with you now. And this is somehow, I feel that it's very important for us to understand that we are molded by our experiences with others. And sometimes those experiences may not be in the personal sense where they're there with you and physically available when you need them, but they're always resourceful. They always provide you with that encouraging thing when they see that spark in you. So let your passion drive you. Don't think that I don't have something, I won't be able to go ahead with it. I think Hafeez went through that, and he's actually been going through it right now. And he's also one of the few people who donates without taking his name. So there is something called giving back also after you've done well for yourself. And I think he's a person who lives according to his needs. There's nothing more than that one really wants to really have. And the rest of the need that he has is to literally do. He's a doer. He just wants to create something. And I guess that's very important. Now, for you all should realize that the book is not just talking about Hafeez joining academy. You should know what is Academy of Architecture. What is the history of this particular college? What was it in Hafeez's time, and what is it today? And when you have a building which is formally designed with these studios. When Hafeez was there, it was a different building which was adapted as Academy of Architecture. So that sort of a thing, when you read it, there's history about the place. There's history about Columbia University, the Columbia campus. Who are the architects of Columbia University buildings? And which are the buildings? If you ever go to New York and you go to Columbia campus, you immediately feel that presence of an institution. So different from where Hafeez was doing his academy and over there. Imagine, it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Moment Hafeez goes to Columbia, you realize, oh my God, this is a campus. And in academy, I think it was just a building. So you got to be very, very clear about what you're writing so that the reader is made aware. So in my writing, I've tried to bring that quality in. And I'm sure many people will be able to relate with it if you've been to these places or if you're of that particular time. And that's interesting. So that's very good that Hafeez, you shared your learning experience. So I've added that historical part of the setting where you were learning.
Thank you. Yes, madam, any questions? Any questions some other student wants to? One thing I would like to add today, I see a lot of new students, because at any given time we get so many new students doing the apprenticeship, and I am very happy that we are able to employ them. At any given time, about 50, 60, 70 apprentices are working. But one thing I noticed today, that each and every student, is really very, very, impatient. He works for 1 month or 2 months, and he feels that he has done the job, and he would like it to be, put on a different platter. And hard work is missing. Only everybody is talking about rewards, rewards, and rewards. Yes, but I feel that one has, this is my advice to all the young students and aspiring architects that uh, overnight success, which everybody is wanting to have, for me, an overnight success is a complete hard work of about, say, 10 to 15 years. And if you are getting a success in 10 to 15 years, now maybe with the digital era and all that, that kind of yeah, timing can be made half. But that also people are not wanting to do. So hard work is one thing which which cannot be replaced. And so you asked me what I learned in my academy and what I learned at Columbia University. My initial school days, I was in a school called Boys Town, Nasik. And there, uh, I was a very, very bad student. I never studied, and I hook or by crook, I passed my classes and all that. But there was one teacher called Mr. Tattu, and he used to teach us maths and some another, subject. And whenever he would come into the class, the first thing that he will write is no luck without hard work. And we used to make fun of him. And when he would write, we all students would shout loudly and say, "Sir, no luck without hard work." And everybody would laugh, ha, 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 ha. And he would turn around. He was a very, very short guy. And he would say it in Gujarati, "Dikrao, tame mane yaad karso, tame mane yaad karso." So that kids, you'll remember me. And that is one thing which I would say that never realized it at that time, never worked hard, wasted my time. All the time I was playing and doing all different odd things. But that also has really taught me in life what to do. But when I joined architecture, I would say that is another line that each and every kid should remember. There is no luck without hard work. That is one thing which I learned at my school. What I learned at academy was lots and lots of, but I learned the fundamentals. Okay, I'd like to tell you one more thing. One day, Keki Patel was another architect who used to teach me. I haven't met him for a long, long time. And one day, they had given us some architectural problem where we were supposed to design some kind of structure, I remember. And I went to Keki Patel and I said, "Sir, you're not even learned about these kind of structures, and you're giving us this problem. How can we design?" So Keki Patel had told me, and that also is a very important point to be remembered. Keki Patel told me, "Hafeez, we are not here to teach you everything and everything. We are here to teach you all the fundamentals. And it is for you to take from here. Your life starts and you understand, and there will be many, many more structures, new type of structures, new type of problems that you will have to solve on your own. We have taught you the fundamentals. And that is what is helping me today. What academy taught me, a very, very small college. We were in a rundown sheds, and, at Barda, whereby, if you were a little late by 10 o'clock, we would be asked, shoot off to go. But we learned the fundamentals. And if the fundamentals are right, you will never go wrong. Come with any problem in the world. And today, the problems that are being faced with architecture is, look at the climate. What is going to happen to the climate in the next 20 years? What is going to happen to earthquake? What is going to happen to hurricanes? What is going to happen with sea levels rising? Are we going to construct in the same old fashion? No, sir. We are going to invent a new way of doing architecture and living. And that is what academia has taught me. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody there or everybody's gone?
No, sir, we are here.
Okay.
Do we have time for one more question, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Uh,
Yes, go ahead. Please go ahead.
okay. Harshad, sir, we would like to know that how do you see your role as an author and architect towards producing a literary work about an architect or about the field of architecture?
It's a very difficult question to answer. I guess you have to decide, whether it's important for me to write also and do architecture or just be an architect. And as far as I am concerned, I feel that my role as an author right now is much more important than as an architect, because architects have stopped writing a lot for the people. They are either writing for themselves or for other architects to learn about their work. And I think that is something which we need to. So I see my role as an author is very important, and I'm so happy that the editing team at HarperCollins, the publishers, has actually helped me put it together in a very simple manner. They were, my first draft had some of the architectural thinking in it. And when I interacted with them, they literally started asking me questions about what does it mean? Because some of the words which we use are so bombastic and so loud, and that, they don't make sense anywhere in the real world outside. They're limiting us in our own field. So I felt that why are they asking me this to say that, how will I do it? But then when I finally gave in and I said, yes, I will do it, I took up the challenge, because then I realized taking the challenge is what Hafeez does. So I said, as an author, let me take up the challenge and write about another architect's work in text form. And that's the way I've done the book. So it's very interesting for me to listen. So you want to go ahead to any more questions?
With that, we'd
Yes,
like
Jane.
to end our today's session. Uh, Thank you, Hafeez sir, and thank you, Harshad sir, for gracing us with your presence. Thank you so much for the wise insights that you provided on all these various topics.
Thank you, madam. It was
Thank
very
you.
nice of you. And
Thank you.
Arshad, thanks a lot for sparing your time. And thank you, Academy of Architecture, uh, for hosting this, and you all for putting it together and taking off your time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you all. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
being
much, sir.
patient and listening to us also.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm leaving. Bye. Bye.